You're listening to Healing Wisdom. I'm Pandora Peoples, and today we're speaking with artist, designer, and Contra dance enthusiast Andrea Pluhar. That will be followed by a conversation with Betsy Maylor, who grew up in Southern California and attended the Idlewild School of Music and the Arts in the Pines of the San Jacinto Mountains. Andrea, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
First off, how did you come to Wellfleet?
Long history. My grandparents bought a house in Wellfleet in 1933, and my mother grew up here, on and off, between here and New York. It kind of depended. My grandfather, Norman Matson, was a writer, so he was often in New York, and my grandmother was up here by herself, as it turns out. Yeah.
And what did he write about?
He wrote a lot of short stories. I forget there was a character that was had a certain fame back then, and I forget what it is. You know, in the Saturday Evening Review, those magazines. So it did short stories. He wrote a couple of novels. He was a journalist also. He did some journaling, articles. Nice.
Was he for political dissent in the event it's necessary?
he may have once been a card-carrying communist.
Okay. There you go. So what are your earliest memories of growing up on the Cape?
Well, I didn't grow up on the Cape. I grew up in New York, actually.
Oh, okay.
My mother who grew up on the Cape, but we came up here in the summers.
Nice.
I spent the entire summers up here with my cousins, and we were all what we call the house in the woods, or the brook, as my grandparents called it, the brook. And what are my earliest memories?
Yeah.
Getting here from New York, it was so exciting. It was so exciting. This was like my heart lived in Wellfleet. They took me away during the year to go to school in New York, but my heart stayed in Wellfleet all the time. So when I grew up and had children, that's really where I wanted to raise them. So that's when we came. And that was in 91 that we moved up here.
I see your art as very imaginative, playful. How would you describe your art?
How would I describe my art? Well, it's sort of, I guess it's allegorical. It's most definitely figurative, kind of figurative expressionist sometimes. Though as I got older, it got to be a little bit more focused, high focus kind of painting.
When did you first develop this style?
Oh, I went to art school in the 80s. I actually haven't worked as an artist for a while. I had a show at the Preservation Hall a couple of years ago. I had sort of a retrospective at Preservation Hall. Maybe some people caught that show. I also did an artist talk, which is fairly popular, oddly enough. And so how did I develop that style?
Yeah.
Well, style is like the be-all and end-all, isn't it? And the whole process is like developing a style. So how I actually got there, I don't know if I could express that.
That's more of a philosophical question, I guess.
Well, it's as you get older and as you work, you kind of have to kind of explore your preferences. Art is a matter of taste, really. What moves you? What lines do you like? What artists do you like? And you try to pursue that. I always preferred to see meaning in painting. I want to see life in painting. And I like to see emotion in painting. And I like to have paintings mean something to me when I look at them. So that's what I try to do when I work. Not that I don't have anything against abstract painters. As a matter of fact, there's some beautiful abstract painters out there, and I also appreciate that. But I do like the human form.
And people are endlessly fascinating, and I feel like you're telling a lot without saying it, which is what's so great about visual art, right? It's nice to have a commentary without the words. So I really appreciate your work. Can you talk about Outermost Contra? How did you get involved with it?
Yeah, I got involved through Edmund Robinson. I don't know if anybody, well, actually, a lot of people out there remember him. He was a pastor at, the minister actually at the UU in Chatham, and he was a musician, and he would come to our sessions down at the old inn at O'Shea's, which is I think is in Dennis. Anyway, I got to know him, and he was sitting around, we were having dinner, and he asked if anybody wanted to get involved in a contra dance. He was looking to form a committee. And I immediately thought of Preservation Hall because Preservation Hall had just been completed. That was in 2012. And Preservation Hall opened up in 2011. And as soon as it opened up, I thought to myself, this would be a great place for a contra dance. I mean, it's like perfect for a contra dance. So I jumped on the committee with the idea that eventually I would convince them to bring it to the hall, which we did eventually. I mean, in a couple of years, we were in Chatham. There were a couple of different places in Chatham we were in. But I finally, they lost it. We lost the space in Chatham. And so I convinced them to try Preservation Hall. And we've been there ever since.
Awesome. And can you tell us what you love about contra dance?
Contra dance is a very old form of dance. All the Northern European countries have some form of social dancing. Actually, probably all the countries in the world have some form of social dancing. In other words, it's not like couple dancing, right? It's when a group gets together, right, and they either dance in a circle or various figures. Maybe people dance in the middle. Maybe people dance in squares. Square dancing is social dancing. I think most people are aware of probably more aware of square dancing than contra dancing. Contra dancing probably predates square dancing. It's definitely a folk dance. In other words, it's been developed by people who were dancing, and it's quite like square dancing. It uses a lot of the same figures that square dancing uses, except it's done in long lines. So everybody in the hall dances with everybody in the hall. So you're not like in squares, and it's fun. It's always danced to traditional music, to the jigs and reels. You think of Irish music or Appalachian music, that kind of traditional music. We always have live music. We always have a fiddler and a backup, which is to say a piano or a guitar, a rhythm instrument. And there's a caller. Some of the dances that we dance are hundreds of years old. Some of the original dances that the European colonists came to this country with these dances. And they were danced in New England right up until the invention of the radio. And then the radio kind of changed things because people could get music all the time. And the music changed. They began to listen to jazz. They began to listen. What else did they listen to? Whatever they listened to. And rock and roll a little later. And and contra dancing began to fade away, And then the 60s came along, and it kind of fit right into the hippie kind of gestalt. And so there was a resurgence around the 60s of contra dancing. And now I think it's coming back a little bit too. We're all getting a little older. But they're young people. There's areas in which contra dancing is very strong, and Greenfield has a wonderful contra dance. There are generations of people who are growing up contra dancing. There are towns in Maine that have very strong contra dance traditions. Keene, New Hampshire also has a strong contra dance tradition. Down here on the Cape, not so much, but we're working on it.
Why do you think it's important? What does it sort of bring out in people? I have done it, and I think that the format of dancing with every single person really fosters an openness and a sense of humor and a kindness. because all of the self-consciousness that people have, or the defenses are kind of down. It's like clearly no one's there to show off or compare themselves to anyone else. It's just to have a good time.
Yeah, it's like a big, wonderful game that everybody's playing, and there are no winners and there are no losers. I mean, basically, everybody's a winner, and yeah, it does foster. It is a social dance, and it does foster friendships, and it's very open and very inclusive. And also, the interesting thing about contra dance, which is not the case for other social dances, is that traditionally you change partners for every dance. So you kind of get used to this idea that when your dance is done, if you want to dance, you kind of, for the next dance, you're kind of looking around for somebody else to dance to. And that really does create a community of people, because you get to know everybody in the room, you know? And you're doing it to music. And there are these like interesting patterns that you're creating with your partners and with their neighbors. It's what you call neighbors, the partner next to you, set of partners next to you, you know? So yeah, it's like a big game, and it's a lot of exercise.
That's really good.
Yeah.
It's great. And do you have a memory of your first time ever doing contra dance?
Oh yeah, very clear. Very clear. I was like 14, and my sister had a boyfriend who played mandolin. We were living up in New Hampshire, up in, no, actually, we were in Norwich, Vermont. And this dance was like somewhere in Vermont, in some Grange Hall, somewhere in Vermont. And it was snowing that night. And we drove, I thought, it felt like hours, and wound up at this Grange Hall. And there was a hall full of people dancing, and it was just so much fun. It was just so much fun. It was so warm and welcoming, and the music was good, and I just loved everything about it. So I was really excited to join Edmund's committee and try to recreate that experience.
Tell us about when folks can come and be part of this. So this is open to the public. It's at Pres Hall.
Yeah. It's on the third Fridays of the month, except we don't do a dance in December or in July or August. We do have a website, outermostcontra.org, with up-to-date information. Clayton March and is going to be playing fiddling for us in November with Chris Marchio, who's at Monomoy High School. He's a junior at Monomoy High School. And who's calling? Paul Wild, who comes from Rhode Island, is coming to call for us. And the caller, by the way, that's an important aspect, because it's the caller who has all the dances. And the dances are all led by the caller, and they're all taught by the caller. You do a walkthrough of the dance before the music starts. So you really don't need to know anything. You do get to know the moves as you dance more and more, and it gets just more and more fun. It's like learning anything, it just gets more fun.
That's a really good perspective for sure.
Oh, I want everybody to come out to the dance, because it's a lot of fun, and the more people that are there, the more fun it is. You know, the more the merrier. So come out and be merry.
Well, thank you so much, Andrea Pluhar, for joining us today on Healing Wisdom. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you, Pandora.